Ooh, there we go. Blop. And there we are. So, here we are again. Yeah. Got Christopher Ross in the room today. It's Leaders Live, so hope you're all hooking on in a moment. Here we go. Yeah, we're on. Lovely. Super. It's always a bit of a nerve-wracking thing. Are we actually on or not? But we definitely are. So LinkedIn have confirmed that. We've already got 6-7 people and counting. So yeah, we're going to get lots of interaction today, I'm hoping. So yeah, it's a Tuesday today, isn't it? It is
a Tuesday.
Tuesday. Yeah. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Welcome to Leaders Live. I know we get people joining from all over, really. So I was just counting down now to 5 seconds. And here we go. Well, welcome everybody. Well, it's a Tuesday morning here in the UK, and it might be a different time wherever you are in the world, but in the UK it's just after 8:45 and we are live. We're live streaming out on LinkedIn, we're live streaming on YouTube, 2 Facebook groups and Twitter all at the same time. It's just amazing technology. I just love this stuff. How all this lot works and glues together, I haven't got a clue, but it's live, baby, and anything can happen. So good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Yeah, hi Chris. Welcome to everybody on this week's Leaders Live breakfast show. So this morning I'm joined by Christopher Ross this morning. And how you doing, mate? Morning. How you doing?
Doing great, thank you. Yeah,
fantastic.
Sun's out.
Brilliant. Well,
turns out doggies are fed. Yeah,
doggies are fed. Happy. They're all nice and quiet. Yeah, I've just got someone who's decided to mow their lawn at this time in the morning, so I've had to close all my windows. It's like, well, it's just live. As soon as you go live, something happens outside. So there we go. So I'll come back to you just in a tick, Christopher. So quick teaser for you guys. Many of you may struggle with staying focused during the working day, especially in the last 18 months of this kind of work from home, online COVID world that we've all been living through with constant disruptions. And, what does this mean to be accountable? This is the word we're looking at today. And, why do so many of us find accountability so flipping hard? So, how do we help ourselves? How do we help our teams and the people we work alongside to become more focused and more effective using accountability? All this and a whole lot more in this live interview chat this morning with Christopher Ross. If you don't know me, I'm Andrew Jenkins. As always, please, I really encourage you to interact with us and ask lots of questions as we're going along. Hit the comments. We'll pick them up. Honestly, we'll pick them up. Don't be shy. Smash those likes too, folks. Really appreciate some likes as we're going along. Always helps the feed. And please subscribe to Leaders Live on I'm really excited about this, my all new website page and on YouTube too. So you can, and there will be links in the description to head over to those 2 places after this show. Please let me know if our audio is coming through okay too, please. So back to Christopher again. Hi Christopher, great to have you on the Leaders Live show.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, well, I'm so excited to have you. And, we'll be talking about how to use accountability to drive results and get it done. And just before we begin...
That's the polite version.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a different version at one point. Let me just give you a round of applause. 1 second.
Yeah. Thank you.
Hey. That's amazing. What I had to hire that crowd out, Christopher, as you'd probably under. Yeah. So let me just intro Christopher. So Christopher is the founder and CEO of Convoy Community, and Convoy, I'll just tell you a little bit about Convoy in a moment, but just won 2 European Social Fund grants actually, which is really great for the Dorset area and the Thames Valley. So I know Christopher's super excited about that. So Convoy is a kind of member supported and member delivered service that supports job seekers, job gig hunters, startups, new roles. Really important service, massively important, particularly in today's world. And Convoy brings people together that share common journeys with each with their own destination, and they provide mutual support, sharing of networks, and assistance in finding the next role, the next job, the next gig, the next startup, all of those things. So a really, really important service, and particularly in these rapidly changing times. So really excited to have Christopher here, and getting things done that really matter to our personal goals, and our business objectives is, well, you know what? If we're really completely honest, for many of us, that's it's harder than we think, right? And so,
yeah, it seems that way.
Yeah, and how is being intentionally accountable useful, Christopher? Take us away with that one.
Yeah, I think where I discovered this was particularly at the beginning of the lockdown.
Right.
So my previous role had kind of dissolved, redundancy. And I started the job hunt, as you do if you like to eat and feed the dogs and so on.
Put food on the table.
Yeah, you like to work. So as I would normally, threw everything into the effort. Probably looked at 1,000 different job roles, applied for 100 of them, got one interview, no feedback, and then was left thinking, what went wrong there?
Oh, now, sounds like a usual story.
Yeah, it's not far off, I think.
No.
But it was the beginning of lockdown, and throughout it, I thought, it's got to be a better way of doing this.
Yeah.
So I went looking. Well, I'm an IT director by trade. I'm a problem solver and troubleshooter. So I was picking apart the experience to just see what had happened and what could I have done better. And my conclusion was that this whole process lacked accountability and structure. So there was nothing there to hold you accountable. To keep going every day.
Because it's just you and you and the CV and you and the job, and I'll do it tomorrow.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
It's you and you. It's you and yourself. And as much as we'd like to think, you can promise yourself you'll do something. Yeah. We all know ourselves so well. We know just how to wriggle out of any commitment we make to ourselves.
I like that.
So I was looking for a way of building accountability into that whole job hunting experience.
Yeah.
So what did you say? Oh, right.
Jonathan Pierce says, "Mr. Ross is a genuine superstar!" Exclamation mark! Exclamation mark!
Kind.
So there you
very
go.
Kind. So by so there was some outplacement stuff going on, and that's great. It gives you a certain degree of support. But my thinking was, okay, we're in a lockdown. At some point, whatever outplacement support you have comes to an end. Of course, it does. It's a service. It comes to an end.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of us, particularly in the senior levels, who weren't likely to get a role in the next few months. It was going to take longer than that, as it often does. The more senior you are.
Of course.
So. Yeah. But although I have to say that what we do applies to people at all levels. But so the accountability comes in when you're looking for, how do I keep myself going? How do we keep the day-to-day actions? How do you keep your momentum, your motivation, keep your mojo, your moxie going? Yeah, and at the same time keep your mental health intact, because all of these things could be really challenging.
Okay, so I get that as a headline. How does accountability really make it more likely for us to get this sort of stuff done? When we need to do it, Christopher. How does it hold us accountable?
Well, the problem is establishing accountability. Is generally speaking, you're accountable to someone, right? Yeah. So to something, and it's holding you to account. In a work situation, your work structure, in the work structure itself, people are dependent on you to deliver stuff, and you're dependent on other people to deliver stuff to you. So that structure is very much present. So if you don't, when you don't have a structure like that around you, it's very easy just to say, well, I'll put it off. I'll leave it till tomorrow. I'll do it later, or maybe I just don't feel like doing it today. So to get stuff done that you've decided you want to do, particularly, the accountability helps maintain that level of activity, if you like, a relentless cascade of taking action every day. And as I think it's in Sun Tzu, the Art of War, and other places, you'll find very similar conclusions. Is that there is very little that can survive a sustained onslaught, that can then withstand a sustained onslaught that is going on. Yeah. So the idea of accountability in this context is to be doing something typically every day. It might not be every day, but it's the sustained taking of actions towards your goals. So
Okay.
to establish that, applied neuroscience and applied psychology have discovered some interesting things. So when you establish this accountability if you try and do it with yourself, the chances are you'll wriggle out of it because you know exactly how your own psychology works. Same case with your family and friends. You know them so well, you know just how to just find a way around your what that commitment is.
Okay.
But it turns out that research shows that when you do it with a semi or complete stranger, you're more likely to do what you said you were going to do than you would if you did it with yourself.
Okay. So I'm kind of getting that it's a social contract that you're setting up between two people, and it's better if that person isn't someone who you know really well and knows all your foibles, particularly like family members or even yourself, for instance. And the other thing that struck me is that when you've got a job, you were saying earlier, well, you've got the dependencies there, and you can depend on other people for their inputs, outputs, etc. And that experience keeps us on task, doesn't it? And it further validates our worth as we're going along. But when you're looking for a job and you're literally on your own, maybe there's no structure present, and so I guess that we're not having that structure. Is that then harder to stay on track and to maintain that consistent, ruthless cascade of actions you talked about, pursuing those kind of goals, Christopher? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I think I'm saying it's harder to sustain it without a structure. And the structure we built for it around Convoy was to use some principles from Agile, particularly from Scrum, and anyone who's been involved in software development nowadays would know about Scrum. But there's a particular element of it's an agile project management methodology, but to use it, you don't need to be an expert in it.
Right. So we'll come on to Agile in a minute. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So to get us there, so if accountability gets results, how do we do it? If it's so simple, is it simple? And how efficient is it, and how tried and tested are these kind of methods you're talking about, Christopher?
How many? We had 3 questions there, was it?
We did. We might have done. Yeah.
Is it simple? It's extremely simple.
Yeah.
We do it through this Scrum element called the daily stand-up meeting.
The daily stand-up, right? Okay. Right. Interesting.
It's called the stand-up because it's so quick you don't need to find a room and sit down. And
so it doesn't have to be stand-up.
Yeah, though it's in these days, of course, everything's done virtually.
Of course.
You asked, is it efficient? It should be. It's super quick meeting like this. You're dealing with only 2 questions, and we in the structure we built for Convoy, we do it in tiny groups of 3. You could do it with just 2 people. It only takes 2 people to create that accountability. We do it with 3. We tested it with 3 and it turned out to work slightly better, because if one person can't come along, then you don't have to reschedule everything, which helps with the efficiency. You just carry on. You've got your booking, it's in there every day. How long does it take? About the time it takes to brew a decent cup of tea.
Oh, I like that. Lovely.
3 to 6 minutes is a really well done daily stand-up.
I like that. And I suppose the longer you look at the kettle, the longer it takes, right? Because kettles take ages when you look at them. so that.
Yeah.
Okay. So, what would be a practical example of that sort of daily super quick stand up? Then how do you break it down? What are the 2 questions you talked about? So there's only 2 questions.
Yeah, the 2 questions are: what did you get done that you intended to get done since the last stand up? Which is obviously it's a daily stand-up, so it happens daily. Do what it says on the tin.
Yeah.
So it's the previous business day.
Okay.
So what did you get done that you intended to get done since the last stand-up?
Okay, since the last stand-up.
That's the first question.
Yeah.
Second question: what do you intend to get done between now and the next stand-up?
Okay, right.
And so the first question clears the decks.
Okay.
Clears your head. Silences the inner critic. And the second question creates the social contract. I intend to do whatever it is.
And then is there a third piece to this?
Yeah, there's an extra question which am I allowed to swear on here?
You can,
No?
yes.
Yeah.
Well, we can do a technical term, Christopher, but not really, no. But
The
yeah.
technical term is how do you stop the fuck up fairy from attending? Um, so
Right, what gets
so
in the way? Those blockers, yeah,
yeah, what are the
yeah.
blockers or impediments to getting that done? And
Okay.
that's the question that you always use in a software development environment.
Mm,
But it works here in the social contract environment of how am I going to make sure that this 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 intention I have for the day, what is it? What could get in the way? What could scupper my plans? Because
okay.
the last thing you need, particularly when you're job hunting, let's say,
Mm,
is another failure. You want to keep
mm.
saying, "Oops, we've lost my
Oops.
camera for a moment. I'll bring it back." Anyway,
We've
it's
got
going to come
ITV
back.
at the moment. Remember that screen card? Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
You're back
There
on
you are.
again.
Sorry, I
Yeah.
just turned into a test card for a
You
moment.
did. You did. Yeah.
So yeah, um, the what was I saying before? The test card interrupted me. Um,
You were talking about the
uh,
blockers and the
oh
impediments, I
yes,
think,
yeah.
Christopher.
You want to keep winning your game every day. You know,
Yeah.
whatever it is you said you were going to do, particularly in the job hunting scenario, the day is the experience is filled with a lot of negativity and rejection. So you're looking for ways to keep rebuilding people's confidence or protecting
I
people's
like that.
confidence. But the interesting thing is this whole idea, this principle, can be used to achieve or to take the actions towards whatever goal it is in any area. It's not just job seeking. You can use it almost. It's like accountability as a service. You could say it's a way of getting done the things you've decided you want to get done in those little pieces.
I like
Make
that.
sure it happens every day.
Yeah. So just to recap on the practical daily super quick stand up then. So it's about, what did you get done that you intended to get done since the
Since
last
the last.
stand up? Secondly is what do you tend to get done by the next daily stand up, if I remember rightly? And then
That's right.
thirdly, what could get in the way, what blockers, impediments, with
Yep.
the F up fairy as you called it. Okay. So, and you also mentioned this whole thing about social contract, and I'm really interested in that. And that whole the applied neuroscience piece there and the psychology piece. Could you tell us a little bit more about that and dig into that just a little bit more? What's going under the hood with that social contract then, and that you know?
Yeah, I'm not sure if people really know yet, but I think it's
Mm,
partly to do with when you make a promise to someone,
yeah,
if it's to yourself, of course you'll forgive yourself. If it's friends and family, they will automatically forgive you.
yeah,
But when it's with a semi or total stranger,
yeah,
well, you don't want to have to explain yourself because I think psychologically you're starting to expose more of you, and you don't know that person all that well, so you don't want
yeah.
to give away too much because that in caveman survival terms, amygdala terms, is probably high risk as a strategy. So I think in the psychological mechanism of what goes on in the background, it probably has something. Well, most things have something to do with survival. At the end of the day, that's why they continue to work, isn't it?
I suppose so.
It's
And I'm
our
just just
human nature.
Just wondering what you're saying there. It's a little bit about I don't want to let other people down or let myself down in front of other people, but it's also is it something to
It's
do with my word
yeah.
is my bond type of thing? That old
No,
a
I
vow
think
or
that's in
an
there too.
oath. Yeah,
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right.
right.
Um, I think I think most people want to be their word. And that's part of the magic of accountability. When you're, um, let's paint a scenario. So you don't have your job function around you. Let's say your job went, and you're now rebuilding and no, rephrase that. Without the job structure,
Yeah,
it's very easy for your self-confidence, your self-belief, and your self-discipline just to disintegrate, to
yeah.
decay exponentially because there's no particular reason to carry on those things at those times.
Tomorrow's another
And
day, right?
well, there's that. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. And without the validation that you get from at work, you're validated because people get things from you. You've done a piece of work for them. It does what they want it to do. Other people are bringing work to you. That thing we said earlier about other people depend on you and you depend on others. It validates you as a useful being delivering work. And without that work structure, that can all collapse very easily. So by utilizing accountability here, what's happening is you're saying this will happen and it happens. Your word created your world, and you have recovered your agency, which is a much healthier thing for your mental health. So there's an element of that in there as well, which is a byproduct of just executing your accountability on a daily basis. It actually protects mental health in a way.
Yeah, I kind of get that. Yeah, it's wrong scene. Sorry about that. This is the one I wanted. There we go. Yeah, I kind of understand that. Yeah, and that whole thing about protecting your mental health as well, and because you're accountable to each other, right? And clearly, when you come back to the next meeting, you don't want to have to explain yourself of not taking any action, or actually, if there is a blocker in the way, it might be around a conversation around someone's mental health. Well, actually, I'm feeling really down at the moment. So there's another conversation, right? And that's where the support and accountability comes in to help each other. So tell us a little bit more about that mental health aspect, Christopher. We've got the action piece. Tell us a bit more about the mental health piece.
Yeah, I get a good feeling out of achievement. So if I've said something's going to happen, I've done it. My word created my world.
Yeah.
I've regained my position as a powerful being. You're, as I say, it's agency, but you're able to influence your environment, and that helps to give you confidence. I think mental well-being is it's partly about that, but it's also partly about having people in your life. We are social animals as humans, and the lockdown in particular has reminded people of that. Now we have the opportunity to go back and meet people again, although I think the model will be much more hybrid than it was. So I think people will be working by themselves more, or working from home more.
I think you're right.
And they only have the dog to talk to,
Yeah, in your case, you got the dog to talk to.
Dogs.
Well, you get a lot of sense out of your two dogs. They're very intelligent beings. and that's where that third piece comes in. What did I get done since the last stand up? The second week was, what do I intend to get done for the following stand up? But then there's this conversation around the blockers and the impediments, and I wonder whether that's where the whole mental health piece comes in, where you can level with each other and talk about some of the difficulties which pop up, that get in the way of you achieving.
And I think also anticipating the difficulties will work both ways, either for people who overdo it and who can think that there's more difficulty ahead than there might be, and there's people who will underestimate it. But the idea is create the games that you can win. You want what's the one thing I can get done today, or in this slot, in this slice, this time period, that is the battle I'm going to win today, and that inoculates you, if I'm allowed to use that term in the current time. Inoculates you from negativity and failure to some extent, because each time you've done what you said you were going to do, or you've achieved what you wanted to achieve in these small little pieces, it's going to keep building that for you.
I like that, and I like the idea of a buddy system, that it's not just the two of you, there's three of you, which kind of creates a kind of a triplet sort of accountability. I think
circle. It could be done with more, but to make it really efficient, you want to keep the numbers down enough, and the daily stand-up particularly is there to drive the accountability. And in classic Scrum activity, if there is something to be discussed, you agree to discuss it at a particular time. You don't necessarily do it in that meeting there and then, because people have got things they need to go to. Obviously, if you've got a crisis to deal with, you might deal with it straight away, of any sort, technical or personal or something. But for to make the daily stand-up so efficient that it's a no-brainer to do it, because you know how much speed, how much velocity it gives you, is to keep it short, keep it simple, keep it focused, and then what's the one thing, I mean, coming up with a laundry list of items, well, I'm going to do this, this, and this today, doesn't really work. Stick to the one thing of greatest value, the thing that is of the most value to you getting to your goal.
Yeah.
And manage your energy around that, because that's another whole other subject we could look at. But how do you prioritize what you do for efficiency? But today we're talking about accountability. So make yourself be accountable for the thing that is of most value to get you where you want to go.
The one thing that's most important right now, and get that done.
Yeah, it's a great book, The One Thing.
The one thing, yeah, or eat that sprout, or swallow that frog, or whatever the other phrases are that people use along those lines as well.
That's a whole nother podcast, that one, isn't it?
I think so. I really like the way that you've linked accountability to stand-ups, and then made that bridge into the virtual world as well, and that's really helpful. And I'm just turning to our viewers at the moment. We've got quite a few viewers on board at the moment. What are your thoughts? What is there any sort of observations that you want to add to our discussion here? Please add them into the comments now, or if you've got a question, please ask us a question and put a Q in front, and we'll answer it for you. So here's an invitation for you guys listening. Please please interact with us, and let's see if we can pick up some aspects of observations and what you've noticed, or any questions that you guys have got. And while you're doing that, because there's always a bit of a delay in that happening because we're live, I know that I'm just thinking about these stand-ups, and they can work just as effectively. I've just noticed you're just drinking out of a gin bottle, which I know is your water, right?
Yeah.
This is Christopher's sense of humour.
There's been no gin in this bottle for far too long, sadly.
I'm just checking, that's all. So stand-ups can work just as well in the physical and the virtual environments. We've covered that, and the key is efficiency. So virtual can actually help us keep focused on the main thing, exactly what you've just said, whatever that main thing, that one thing is. And I know you run a popular community called Convoy, and that helps job seekers and entrepreneurs, etc. So how do you, what are the kind of conversations which go on, with accountability in your community to keep people driving for results, hitting those personal goals and getting stuff done? Christopher, what are the kind of examples that you notice within your group?
I encourage people to take the one thing kind of view. So, looking for a new role, or it's creating a new role through entrepreneurship, is something that is a job in itself. It's right. Creating a job is a or looking for a job is a job. It's a full-time job. Project.
Yeah, indeed, it's a project. Yeah, that's a good way of looking at it.
It's often thought of as full-time, but I'm not sure it's really healthy to make the job search a full-time job, because I think it becomes too much of a single focused obsession, and I think you need to keep that sort of thing in balance. And you need to take time for learning, time for self-care, time for improving what you do, sharpening the saw, as Stephen Covey used to say, the seventh habit. And I think it's really important to add balance in that way. That was one of the things I discovered in my early job search. 1,000 roles, 100 applications, 1 interview, no feedback. There was no balance in what I was doing. I hadn't paced it, and it was becoming this desperate, must get a job, keep applying. Do a job scan filter on LinkedIn for anything that is easy, apply and ignore the rest. It's not effective.
There's no magic formulas, are there?
So one of the things we encourage our job seeking community, the ones looking for like conventional roles rather than creating their own, is think about that 80-20 split. 80% of roles are not filled through a direct application. So don't spend 80% of your time doing applications. Spend 20% of your time doing that, because then the recruiters and headhunters and so on know that you're open for business, and spend the rest of that time broadening and deepening your network. Get involved in webinars, get involved in networking events, because not only will you're trying to be found, you're putting yourself in the path of a search, and you're wanting to be found. And according to something I read, and I wish I could find the original reference, 73% of those findings come from the second level of your network, not even the first. So it's important not just to filter your connections, but don't filter them too much, because it's not the person who is directly connected to you always that is going to be the source of that. It may come from the next level deep, and that level
and it's
is
sharing those stories, isn't it,
1,000 times
Christopher?
bigger.
Yeah, I'm with it. And that little anecdote you said, and sharing that in your community, that actually it's not just the people that you know very well that are able to pass a job over to you. It's the broader network of people that, wider network that you might not be in touch with every day. There might be second or even third connections, but somehow, in the moment, that passing parade piece, you see them, they see you. They've got a problem there, and they've got they know somebody who needs a job filling, and that could be you. And that's the way it often works. It's not necessarily the people in your deeper connection base that are able to help you. It's those in the wider network which are really useful. And again, I suppose with your convoy group of triplets, then you're sharing each other's network as well, I guess, and helping each other if they're not competing with one another.
Yeah, what we've seen though is even when people were in similar areas, I can think of one particular case where two very senior people, sort of chief of staff levels, we're talking about, were both going for the same role, and they were sharing their experience as they went. Nice. So I mean, that's the level of community that came up. It was
quite
really
incredible. Yeah,
really, really cool.
So you moved away from competing with one another, but helped each other to, may the best person win type of thing. And the right person gets the job. It's not necessarily winners and losers here, just the right person should get the job, and that's the way it is, right?
Yes, and I think maybe at senior levels there's also more of a sense of wanting to make sure the fit is absolutely right for both sides, because the view doesn't just tend to be...
Yeah, it's not just about a job, is it? And fulfilling a role. It's much more than that, isn't it, at senior levels? I'm with you. And for all of us, in fact, if we really think about it. Okay, so thank you for that. That's really great food for thought, that one. Is there anything else about the shared community that, people have good days, bad days, and that's the great thing, I guess, about a community as well. You help each other through the good days as well as the bad days, right?
Yeah, the other element we've used is it's taking another piece from Scrum and Agile, which is, it's essentially like a retrospective. So in Scrum you have sprints which are anywhere from a week to 6 weeks, but we use a weekly cascade, and there is a weekly meeting where we deal with some slightly different questions, which is a quick look back and a look forward. Which, how did things go? What went well, what didn't go well, so you can keep improving. And looking forward, what's your focus? Because there's people around here who may be able to help. Something you have that's coming up. Maybe you're looking for connections in Amazon because you've got an interview coming up. So this weekly meetup is there to support the community, with people in the community, with hope and reassurance. So you get hope from seeing other people succeed. You get reassurance from seeing that, perhaps like yourself, other people are not getting the jobs, the interviews, the feedback. So it's not just you, other people are having the same experience, which is the convoy model. We've got people on a journey, similar journey, each with their own destination, and that's what makes up this the sort of the definition of that group.
I'm with you. And you know what, this is, whilst we've just been talking very directly about job seekers, which affects us all at some point in our careers, right? And how useful that is to have that community. But this kind of community building and daily stand-ups can be applied to any, to entrepreneurship, to setting up new businesses, new Kickstarters, new startups. And I know you deal with a broad spectrum of those. It's not just the job seekers thing. So, folks, like this can be used in all sorts of areas. It's building that community of trust and that sort of common interest and support, which is really, really helpful, no matter what topic you're looking at. So, you can broaden this out. And listen, thank you for that. What kind of 3 tips would you leave us with as we're kind of coming to a close here? What 3 tips would you give us for building community, keeping accountable?
I would say you keep it small, keep it small, simple, keep it really efficient. So it's like if you would, unless if you're a software Scrum team, typically 8 to 12 is as big as you let those teams get.
Right.
but that's a stand-up focused on a group goal.
Yeah.
Right. So in the context of what we do in Convoy, the accountability is there to support your own goal, your personal goals. So it's more that way. But in an accountability group, keep it real, keep it fresh, keep it mutual, keep it brief.
And keep it to one thing, right? The one thing is the one thing, and that's the one thing to remember out of this. Yeah.
What's the one thing that you can do? I mean, it comes from the book, The One Thing, which I keep handy, that book. I'm sure you've all heard of it. But what's the one thing that I can do in this time frame?
Yeah.
The doing of which makes everything else easier or unnecessary. Finding a job makes job hunting unnecessary. Great. That's a slightly, tongue-in-cheek look at it. But the one thing you might also want, I was thinking about this last night, what's the one game you can win? What's that one, W-O-N, thing?
Right. What can you win at, that one? Yes.
What can you win by tomorrow?
What have I won? Yeah.
And if it's too big, what's the piece of it? Make it small. Make it achievable.
Chunk it down, little by little.
Yeah. How do you eat an elephant? One chunk at a time.
One
that's
bite at a time, and keep going. Right, I've got you. Now, so listen, folks. I hope you found that really useful topic, and I hope it's certainly given me food for thought, and I hope it's given you food for thought as well. You guys listening. Christopher's got a bit of a freebie to offer, and let me see if I can encapsulate this for Christopher here. So Christopher is offering a free. For up to up to 5 employees, this will be for at 5 companies, full access to Convoy, Rock Your New Role, and also Job Seekers Journey program. So two offers. So briefly, Rock Your Role is let me just change scenes here. So, is a crowdsourced onboarding experience where new hires and those being promoted embed their first 90 days honeymoon journey together. So that's one thing. And then secondly, the Job Seekers Journey supports anyone who is looking for their next new role. And this program would serve people leaving a business, whether voluntarily or involuntary. So there's a couple of offers for you. First 5 of those, Christopher will offer free of charge for you. And all you need to do is contact Christopher via LinkedIn or via his email, which you'll find on his LinkedIn profile as well. So from my side, if you're seeking to build and develop a high-performance team, to lead your business, then please contact me for a free 1-hour consultation. I'll be happy to chat to you, and I'll pop the link of my website so you can contact me directly, in the description later on. Lastly, look, if you're an SME business owner who's finding it lonely, and Christopher's actually joined in our Inspired CEOs from time to time as well, and you're finding it lonely at the top, then please feel free to contact me about our Inspired CEOs community. And as I said, Christopher's been part of that community. Is there anything that you could say about that community that helped you, Christopher, along your journey?
There was, I remember one bit when, I think it was the first time I came along, actually. You guys threw me in the hot seat.
The hot seat, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how we do that.
Oh, it's brilliant, because you've got no preconceptions as to what to bring to the story, to the conversation, and you get to fully experience breaking down an issue that you've got, a thing you want to solve, and you've got essentially a panel of experts right there and then who can help you explure it.
Yeah, and keep you accountable as well, right?
Yeah. And you get some great ideas and a different way of looking at something.
Yeah, so that's how
from an experienced CEO.
A group of inspired CEOs, actually. So that's our Inspired CEOs. Thank you very much, Christopher, for that. So listen, just a quick word on Leaders Live before I talk to you about what's happening next week. So I set up Leaders Live with the purpose to edutain and explore high-performance topics via informal fun, back and forth, interesting people, just like Christopher Ross, with a mindset and a passion to kind of help leaders and businesses succeed in these rapidly changing times that we're all living through. And I do this because, I believe this is important, that this generation of business leaders get success through the people factor. I think that's massively important, and therefore, Leaders Live really taps into our innate human superpower of I to the power of we. I love that expression. So that's what we're all about. That's why I do this thing free of charge every week. And next week, Leaders Live Breakfast Show will be on a Wednesday, not a Tuesday, but a Wednesday. I've got something to do on a Tuesday, so we kind of flip-flop between Tuesdays and Wednesdays. But essentially, it's always Tuesdays, apart from if it's a Wednesday. And it's a Wednesday next week at 8:45. And we have David Rogers, who is the finance director of Marston's and author as well. And he'd be talking about the hugely important subject of workplace wellbeing. I can't wait for that, and I'm looking forward to that, and I hope you will be too. And so be there or be square, folks. So that's all folks. It's a goodbye from me, and it's a good day from Christopher. Cheers for now.
Cheerio.
See you.
Thanks for listening.
See you again next week. Cheers for now.
Cheerio.
Bye bye. Right, let's pop us off. Finish.